Hey guys, so today we get two new generals. We got Shapur first, who is a siege general, and then we also got a sub-city general. First, we're going to look at the siege general, and then we'll look at the sub-cities after that. But let's dive right into it. So with Shapur, they are a universal general, so you can use them on the wall and in other situations such as reinforcing. For skill books, there is no compatibility issues there. They work with all of them. Main skill 55 attack, 40 defense, 55 HP, no march size, pretty standard skill, pretty decent for a new general. For full ascension, come in at 125 attack, 75 defense, 110 HP, and 6% march size. The march size is a little bit low, but it is a siege general, so we don't see too many siege generals that are too insane march size, so it's not too bad. For the specialties, you're going 85, 50, 60, and 0% march size, which is okay for the base stats, but no march size, not super great. For the Covenant and Skin, 10% across the board, everything including march size, which that 10% march size is pretty nice. And for the totals, brings their attack to 443, 354 defense, 397 HP, and 16% march size. Now, on the attack side of things, that puts them in 5th place overall, which isn't great for a new general. On the March side of things, that puts them in 11th place, which is pretty bad, to be honest. Their defense is pretty mediocre, coming in at 12th place, but their HP is decent, coming in at 3rd place. And that makes their increased attack 33 billion, which puts them in 6th place, which for a brand new general is pretty poor. They're not very good. They really don't have any tricks that saves them from it. They're just a mediocre siege general, so there's really not much of a reason to get them. On the assistant side of things, for the attack, they come in 3rd place with 150, which is okay. For defense, they come in 7th place with 100, which is all right. HP, they come in 2nd with 125, which is pretty good, behind Romulus. And 10% march size in the assistant slot puts them in 8th place overall, meaning that their increased attack puts them in 3rd place at 12 billion. So they are decent as an assistant. They're not the best assistant, but they are good. And I'm sure that if you have other siege general that you're looking for an assistant for, and none of the other good ones are compatible, Shapur would be good for that. But other than the assistant role for some very niche cases, they don't have a lot of use at all. And we're not even going to look at putting them on the wall because, as we've seen already, there are a lot of universal generals already that do it better. So there's not really any point to put them on the wall when there's other generals that are better for it. All right, the next general that we have today is Montezuma the First, which is a sub-city general, and this one actually is a very good general. Although they are available only from the cake, so if you're gonna get them, they are going to be very expensive to get, but they are a good general nonetheless. Now, Montezuma, for their main skill, they debuff ranged and siege, primarily the ranged, with 45 attack debuff on the ranged, 35 HP in defense for both the siege and the ranged as well, which for a base skill for a sub general is pretty solid. Once you fully ascend them, which you're going to need a lot of money to do that, but if you do manage to do it, they are pretty decent. Still, mainly focusing on the ranged and also the siege as well. Coming in at 105 debuff on the ranged attack, 65 HP, and 65 defense, which is pretty solid. On the siege, 90 attack debuff, 80 defense debuff, 65 HP debuff, pretty good, and also some decent debuffs for the mounted and ground as well, debuffing 50 HP for both, 10 defense, and 25 attack. So they do cast a pretty wide net, but that is a very large investment, and I don't think the majority of players are going to be able to get that. On the specialties mainly focus just on the ranged and also a little on the siege. We got 10% debuff for the mounted in the ground, 45 attack debuff for the ranged, 30 HP, 30 defense. On the siege, 10% attack, 30 defense, and 30 HP, which are pretty decent overall. Nothing too crazy. They do not have any Covenant or Skin as of yet, so that is worthy to know. But as we can see, if we look at all of the sub-city generals, there's not a lot that do have a Covenant or Skin, so that's nothing too out of the ordinary. But individually, these numbers don't mean a whole lot. Let's see what they mean for just across the board in general. So when we look at all debuffs, Montezuma comes into 835, meaning the attack, defense, and HP for all the 4 different troop categories. And as we can see, that does put them in first place for overall debuffs compared to all the other sub-generals. So very high debuffs. That's 95 for the mounted and 95 for the ground, which doesn't put them near the top for any way for debuffing those 2 categories. But it is a nice little cherry on top, considering they're not made to do that. The ranged is where they really come in clutch with 340% total debuff. The only one that comes close is Zizka at 330%. The rest of them are pretty well down there, so if you're looking to debuff ranged troops, Montezuma is very good with that, and you're going to be looking at either them or Zizka for that. The difference between them and Zizka is Montezuma is going to give you 150 attack debuff, 95 defense, and 95 HP. Zizka is going to give you 120 attack, 110 defense, and 100 HP. So Montezuma is going to debuff their attack more. Zizka is going to debuff their HP and defense more. So it's just really where you want the debuffs to come from. In terms of the siege, Montezuma comes into 305, which is very high, and there's not a lot of sub-generals that can debuff siege. The one that comes closest is Zhu Di at 285, and so he's outpacing him by a good little bit. Montezuma will debuff your attack by 100, Zhu Di 120, Montezuma 110 defense, 95 HP, Zhu Di 100 defense and 65 HP. So if you use Zhu Di instead of Montezuma, you're going to get a little bit more attack debuff on their siege, but Montezuma is going to give you a little bit more defense and HP debuff on them. So it just depends on what you want. Really, realistically, it depends on who you have available. But yeah, so Montezuma is very good for debuffing ranged in siege, and does an okay job debuffing mounted the ground, making overall them one of the best sub-generals overall. So, yeah. That's all I got for this video. It's a pretty quick one. Hope y'all found it informative and useful. And also, if you're interested, I did start a second channel where I'm going to be posting things that are not Evony related. So if you want to go check that out and see what I may post in the future, I'm not really sure what I'm going to put on there yet, but I'm just going to try different things and do things that I find entertaining for me. So check that out if you want to, and I'll catch you on the next one.